Just looking back at the offense over the course of the bye week, reflecting on the first half of the season, what were some things that stood out to you on the whole?
Um, a lot of the things that we've talked about for 6 weeks, really. I mean, I don't want to overstate the obvious, but doing a lot of good things. If you just look at the numbers and then look at the film, sometimes you get a little bit different picture than what you anticipate. But I think the film kind of matches what you see from our numbers. Making some plays in the run game. Obviously, I think we could do better there. I think part of the challenge is me doing a great job just trying to design a run game that best fits our offensive linemen. At times that can be a challenge when you're facing defenses that are giving you 7-8 man fronts, 7 against 11, 8 against 12 personnel groups. So there's an extra gap, an extra hitter, because we're seeing a lot of cover 3 with an extra hitter and one single high deep safety. But I do think we're continuing to make progress there, and I think we'll show improvement in the run game the second half of the season. I think I understand better where we are. Sometimes you're so busy from week to week game planning, it's really hard just not to miss some things. Things become really apparent when you just watch everything, and you're able to watch it compartmentalized. In the throw game, we've just been very erratic, very, very up and down. There are times that it's been really good. There are times that it certainly hasn't been, for a bevy of reasons. But what I'm really focused on, I think, is the fact that we completed a couple of deep balls in this last game, and I think that'll give us a boost heading forward.
When you look back and self-scouted, is there anything that frustrated you that you kept seeing over and over again as a mistake?
Yeah, a lot of things. Self-inflicted wounds and opportunities for plays down the field in the passing game that we just didn't complete. But the self-inflicted wounds being not a lot of missed assignments. For the most part, our guys know what they're doing. Holding penalties, a few false starts, but more of the holding that's really killed drives. And then, like I said, in the past game, and then more recently, I mean, our red zone ranking is really good. However, we've had 2 first downs in the low red zone each of the last 2 weeks and not scored a touchdown. And there are 2 red zone stats that you look at a lot. One is scoring offense, which is nice, but touchdown percentage is the most important thing. And our scoring percentage down there is really high. Our touchdown percentage is still pretty high in terms of national ranking, but it needs to be better. And when you get the ball in that position with a first down, you need to be able to go get it in.
Jeff, when you talk about the improved run game or expectation that it can improve and kind of designing what fits your linemen, how much input do they get? Do you talk with those guys about what they like, what they want to do, what they are comfortable with? I mean, how much of that at this stage of the season is happening?
I would say some. That's a good question. And, input from players, I think, depends on a couple of things. One, have those guys do they have an opinion that's really credible? Sometimes you ask people who don't really know, or maybe, they're just trying to figure out how to play good enough themselves, and any other opinion from them really is a moot point. How much experience do they have? And then, some players just hey, coach, you call whatever you want, and we'll make it work. So I would say a little bit, but we've got some guys that I think just recognize that they need to do some things better, and that's where it's at.
Jeff, where do you see how have you graded out the offensive line in the first half?
I would say overall a little better than probably what most people anticipated. Certainly better in protection than I think most people thought where we would be. When I say most people, I'm talking about ourselves. But just a little too sporadic. A really good game followed by a game where we don't really settle in and begin playing consistently until the second quarter or even the second half. We've had a couple of those. And so, an offensive line an offensive lineman, and collectively an offensive line needs to be consistent. You know, if you're consistent, even if you're not great, if you're consistent, then the guys who can be great can go be great. If you're really up and down as an offensive line or as an offensive lineman, those really low plays impact somebody else's ability to do something great. As an offensive line, if you just kind of do your job in a better than average way and you have good skill players, then you're heading in the right direction. So we just need to be more consistent, I think.
What do you see from Houston on film?
A really good scheme. I think they're very well coached. I think the scheme is sound, presents some problems for you in a number of ways. Really big, physical in the defensive line, guys that can hold a gap and really make it challenging for you to get up to the second level. Linebackers that'll pull the trigger and come play, and then like everybody in this league, a quality secondary that's not afraid to man you up on the outside. And you know, there are more zone principles than man principles in their back end, but there are times where they choose to play some man, and then there are times even in their zone coverages where somebody will end up one-on-one, and hopefully we can find some of those.
With Quentin Skinner, why do you think he was able to put it together in that ASU game, and how can he continue that going forward?
Yeah, I think he's been willing to really set his jaw and nose to the grindstone, and I mean, I really think he's made it happen. You know, one of the things I say to players all the time is things just don't come together because you keep showing up every day. Everybody shows up every day. Everybody practices, your opponents and your competition on your own team. And so if you're just showing up every day and sort of giving your proverbial best in practice, well, that's the bare minimum. That's what everybody does. If you need to get better at something, then you got to find some time to work on that. And last week and it's really started before last week, before the last game, I'm saying. But especially that week, he and JD stayed after practice and just threw together and over and over and over. And, you know, I've mentioned before, I think we're still making up a little bit for lost time with JD in the off season and summer. And so really, really proud of what he did and the fact that, you know, the process led to that. It didn't just happen on game day because it just happened to be their day.
Go ahead.
Oh, with Jalen, you talked about making up for lost time. How do you evaluate sort of his progress within that prism where you say, hey, this is a guy that didn't have much of an off season, and so you look at it maybe a little bit differently than just, hey, this guy needs to be better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, how do you evaluate it? I think he continues to get better. And I think, as I've said from the beginning, time with your receivers as a quarterback, just developing the time, throwing to Luke and throwing to Quentin and throwing to LJ and throwing to Trevor, all those guys, everyone's a little bit different because of their speed, their stride length, their catch radius. And so you might throw the ball to Q a little differently than you would to LJ when they're running the same route, and that just takes reps. It's time on task. And so I would just say, yeah, I think he's getting better, and I think collectively we're moving in the right direction.
Coach Lapple talked about it on Monday that some of the younger players get reps during the bye week with the older guys getting some rest. Any young players catch your attention during the bye week?
No one that sticks out in my mind right away. No one quote worthy at this point.
With Skinner, you talked about it being sort of a multi-week process. I know you guys targeted him a bunch against TCU. You maybe had some opportunities there. Those opportunities came to fruition against Arizona State. So I guess what has that process looked like for him? And was it something the defense was doing, or was it, hey, we're consciously making this effort to kind of get him going?
I would say some of both. You know, targeting is a strange thing because there are times as a coach where you may target someone, but the defense pushes the read somewhere else. And so this may be the place that the quarterback's going with his eyes first, but this is really what gets open, and then that gets noted in the stats as a target. And so what is targeting actually? I mean, semantics a little bit. But I would just say he's a big, tall guy that can really run. I mean, he has exceptional speed for a guy that tall. And so it's, the impetus is on us as coaches to continue to try to give him opportunities to go do that. But then again, Luke's played really well this year, and LJ, although he missed some time, is a guy that's made plays for a long time around here too. And so, there is a challenge, I think, as a play caller when you start trying to put guys in the right positions. I think Coach Samuel does a phenomenal job of that, just moving guys around different spots and creating a balance of opportunities. Sometimes the ball just finds one guy more than others in a game. Everybody good? All right.
Thank you.
Good to see y'all.